So I'm going to do just a demonstration of how to create a city. I'm not going to do everything that you see on the right. I've completed that city. It's finished, but I'm not going to go through all of those details again. I'm simply going to show you pieces of what I did so that when you are putting together your city, you have the ability to create some of the details that you might see in this city. I've got two artboards set up, and that's simply so that you can see what my finished product would look like if I were going to complete this. So step one is going to be going to my layers, okay? And this layer is locked, okay, where I have my picture. I've locked it. I don't want anything to change. This is just a raster image. It's just a JPEG. It's not an Illustrator file. I've got the Illustrator file saved elsewhere. So it's just a JPEG, but it's this layer, sky, that I want to work with, okay? So I have it selected, and I'm going to give myself double tools, and I'm going to create a sky. I already have a gradient on here. I will be changing this gradient. This is not the gradient that I want for my sky, but there is a gradient in it right now. What is in, when you open up your rectangle, there could be whatever the last color is that you used. That might be what you see for your gradient. But this is the gradient that I get. I can go to my properties menu, and when I click fill, it gives me colors, it gives me mixing. What I want are gradient options, so I'm going to click gradient options. I don't want black. If you click gradient, you get that black and white thing. The thing you need to do is you need to double click on the color, the black or the white, and just change it to an actual color. Okay, change it to something that you actually think you might like. And maybe with this one, maybe I won't make my sky quite so dark. Maybe I'll, in fact, go for something much lighter. So if I want to change these colors, I'll go to my mixer here, maybe lighten these a little bit, put some nice soft colors in there. Do I like a little magenta in my coloring? I do. So I will add that. All right, I'm going to try to make this quick though, so bear with me. Right now, the angle on my gradient is not accurate. I need it to be either 90 degrees so that the darker color is at the top and the lighter color is at the bottom, or minus 90, which would put it in this direction. I'll stick with dark on the top, light on the bottom. I might, because my buildings are going to be taking up a lot of this, I might just do a little bit of shifting here so that I want this to blend a little more. So that's why I'm shifting with this. That, I think, is going to work out fine. Okay, so I've got my sky. I don't want to have to lose things that I've created, so time to lock my sky. I can always go back if it needs to be bigger and add a new layer. I'll call this background buildings. Okay. Not sure what the green is there, but all right, so I've got my background buildings. I might zoom in a little bit here so that we can focus on just what I'm doing here. Now, in my original, I tried to come up with a selection of colors for these buildings that could change from dark to light. So I still have gradients set, so I'm going to have to switch that. I don't want it to be a gradient. I want it to be a solid color. So think about what type of a solid color you like. If I'm going lighter this time, this could actually act as my darkest building. And if that's the case, um, what I want to do is I want to open swatches and I want to click this plus button and I want to rename this. Okay, right now it's giving me the formula for it: 69 cyan, 36 magenta, no yellow, and 3K. I'm going to call it Deep Blue City. Okay. And so when I need that color, it'll already be set for me. I'm going to come up with a different color building now. I'm going to hit Control C, Control V. This building might be slightly in front, and it's going to be a little bit lighter. This is already open for me, this Deep Blue City, and if I simply lower the opacity of it, I'm going to get a lighter blue. And if I like that lighter blue, then maybe I will also name that or add that to my swatches. And you can see the swatches here. If I open this up, you can see where I've just added Deep Blue City 80%. And next, I might make one more. And this one might be Deep Blue City 60%. Maybe this will be the lightest of my buildings. Okay, and I want to save that one too. All right, I don't want to be in the habit of having to keep making colors. I will be making more colors, you know, but at least for these buildings I can sort of get things sort of moving. All right, so the first thing that you are going to want to do is just kind of come up with sort of an arrangement of these rectangles. So if I hit try that again, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, I can design these to be tall and thin, and I could literally just take the darker tone and just randomly place these and size these in different ways. And I'm just going to do a few. I have another one over here. Maybe I'm going to want a nice, tall, skinny building. It's going to be one of my skyscrapers. So I've got this assortment of buildings. I can close the gap on these if I want to. And this can kind of be my background. I might add windows to some of these things. I might not. It just sort of depends. I'll make those decisions kind of as I go. That's sort of how I work. I just sort of add things as I think things need added. So I have this sort of shape here. This one maybe can go here, maybe put some gap there. Let's try my lighter Deep City Blue. See what happens when I start putting that in place. Don't worry about the sky right now. If we need to lower it or move it or change it, we can do that. This is going to come in front. If you go to your properties over here, you're going to see the arrange button, and when you click arrange, it'll say bring to front. So I'm probably going to want to have my next color, you know, kind of offset some of the colors that I have so far. And I kind of am going for sort of a staggered look. So as you place these things, always bring them to the front, and just see how you can stagger them. And this is, of course, one of my lighter colors, and I'm going to be copying and pasting and moving and doing things like that. Let's say we want to start working with a particular building to give it its own look. We don't want, you know, these to just look like rectangles. The nice thing about adding your windows is that you can start repeating the buildings. So if you look at my sample here, you can see this building is repeated exactly over here. I basically copied and pasted it. Did the same thing with this building. Copied and pasted it. This building, copy and pasted it. So if you're looking for a way to kind of really fill your space and really get a lot in there and not feel like you have to make every single building different, which I'm not saying you couldn't or shouldn't. You certainly can. Every single building in your city can be absolutely different. But if you have a lot of buildings like I do in mine, you know, that's going to take a lot of time. And so you might be better off just designing some buildings that you like and then going from there. Now, you know, there's things you can do to your buildings. You know that if you want to, say, have a curved top to your building, and I'm going to change that, you can curve the top by clicking on your direct selection tool, clicking on your widget, double clicking on it. What I like is when this little menu comes up, because you can get some pretty cool effects with these. You know, maybe I don't want my building to have a hard edge top to it. Maybe I want my building to, I gotta hit OK. Maybe I want my building, double click on that, to have what we call the chamfer corners. So now I've got these chamfer corners. Okay. I want some windows on this building. I might make them a completely different color. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this easy to start. Instead of having windows that are just individual windows, I'm just going to create long windows as if these were glass. And if this was glass, I might actually go with a really light color that's already part of my color scheme. So now I've got this 34% deep blue city in here. All right, I can hit copy C and then copy V, 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 and just kind of line these up. Now, if I want these to line up for me exactly so that I'm not worrying about whether they're lined up perfectly, I can go to View, I can go to Show Grid, I can go to View, and I can go to Snap to Grid. And when I do that, these will automatically snap to the grid wherever. I'm gonna unsnap that for 1 second. You see, when you snap to the grid, it wants to put it exactly where it wants to put it. So sometimes I like using that and sometimes I don't. It's good in terms of being at the right height and the right at the top and bottom, but I'm not real I don't want it to I want the spacing to be correct in between. Okay, so those could be windows right there. If I wanted those to have a gradient, I could change that to a gradient. If I want this to just have a very solid look, this can have a very solid look. If I want to add to this building, maybe this building is going to have a piece here, and maybe kind of like the Empire State Building. I want this to have some interesting features. Maybe I just want this to kind of have like maybe a cone feel to it. This came up for me as a triangle, which is great. They don't always come up for you as triangles. I must have used triangle as the last polygon I made. You might end up with one that has 5 or 6 or some other. So really quick, I'm going to change this. I just want to show you what you do when you try to get your polygon and you want it a certain way and it doesn't open up for you the way you want it. So here's my polygon. I want a triangle. You see that is definitely not a triangle. Double click on it. As soon as you double click on it, you have to double click on it while it's still highlighted. Change the number of sides. Okay, so I'm changing it to 3 now, and it will create a new polygon for me. So this one can go away, and now I have this triangle. There's only one issue I could have with this. Well, that certainly is not going, it's not going to be that big, that's for sure. If I hold my shift key while I scale this, I have to let go of the mouse before I let go of the shift key. Otherwise, I will not get the perfect shape that I'm looking for. I'm going to bring it in slightly so it lines up with the rectangle. Okay, and then the last thing I might do to this, I've already got this very thin rectangle here. I'm going to make it even thinner, and oh, that was one of my windows. If I put that behind, it can kind of come up from the top. I probably want it to be the same color as the building, so I'm going to slightly move that, and to change the color I'll just take the eyedropper and do that. Now here's the thing that you definitely want to do before you finish up with a building. Let's just say I want a nice little circle in here. It'll look like some kind of a clock or something. And I'll use one of my darker blues for this. I'll go over to my swatches, see what I have here. I can go for one of the darker blues. I now want all of these to be connected. So holding my shift key, I start clicking on all pieces of this building. Okay, when I have the whole thing, go over to group. It should be in your properties menu. If your properties menu isn't open, if your layers menu is open, then make sure you click your properties menu and hit group. If for some reason you don't see it over there under quick actions, go to object, go to group, which is right there. I can't click it now because I've already grouped it. Now this is great because I've made this building. This building is done. And if I decide, I missed a part, if I decide that, and I might just make that a different, let's just try that a different blue. See if I like that. Sure, why not? Okay, so so now I'll add this in to the rest of this building so that in the future these will all be grouped. Okay, now this is a single building. So if I were to move it, it would all stay together, but also if I were to hit Control C and then Control V, oops, try it again, Control C and Control V, you see I have the building again. So I could change the colors of it, I could change the size of it, but the building's already put together, so I don't have to sit there and redesign the building. Okay, so that's one of the nice things about grouping things. You know, you design it once, you don't have to design it 20 times. Maybe this building is going to have some long windows. What color do I want those to be? Maybe they'll be darker. I'm kind of working with a color scheme. I do think that you'll like your work if you kind of try to incorporate colors. I'm not saying not to have variety. Variety is always very nice, but unity is also nice too, especially when we're talking about buildings. Think about some of the buildings that we've all right. I've just hit Control V several times. Let's see where it went. Control C, Control V. There we go. Okay. So usually what I like to do if I know I need a lot of windows, work one row at a time. Let's just say you decide this is going to be the top row for your windows. Maybe you don't even want them to be side by side. Maybe you want them staggered. You decide how you're going to place these windows, okay? And then once you have your windows in place, and I'm not sure if I like the staggered look or not. I'm not sure I do. I'll just line them up so they're straight across. And again, if I had snap to grid on right now, they would be snapping to the grid for me, but my only issue with snap to the grid is that it sometimes doesn't let you kind of shift things when you want to. All right, so those are going to be the 4 windows. I'm going to group them by holding the Shift key. If you can help it, don't do these things 100 times. Okay, so I click group. Now I have this as a group. I hit Control C, I hit Control V, I hit Control V, I hit Control V, I hit Control V. All right, now I just bring these over and line them up, get them where I want them, and just bring the next one over. Try to have, watch your spacing, if you can watch your spacing. This is, we're doing kind of an art piece here, so I mean, I'm not thinking that you have to be absolutely sure that these are lined up. If this was like, say, for a website or something, and it was really essential that these be lined up, I would say let's check all of this. That probably is good enough. If you want to go another row, just to play it safe, we're going to put things in front of this, so a lot of this will get covered. But that could be one of my buildings. If this is going to be my building, decide, do I want any like little extra trim or anything along the top? Again, you could, just a little rectangle can be all you need. Decide on a color. Sometimes I like to break up the colors, so gives it some interest. This color is too much like this color. Let's see what happens if I go lighter. I like that better because now it stands apart from the color in the background. So now, again, group everything. Group, 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 group. I'm holding my Shift key and I'm clicking my mouse, and once it's all been selected, I go to group, and now I have a building. And this building can be used as many times as I want, so I don't have to If this is a building I like, I can make it again. I can certainly change colors in it, do whatever changes I want to make. Let's see what other types of buildings I had over here. Now, I did use some gradients in some of these. You're welcome to use gradients. If you like using gradients and you like the way the light reflects, go for it, use a gradient. I'll do a building that has some other types of unique windows to them. This one, maybe will be a large window. In fact, maybe I'll make it so that it takes up quite a bit. I'm going to zoom in on this one because I'm going to make the windows arched. If you recall, today we were looking at federal buildings, and we noticed how, like, federal buildings have kind of arches to them. So there's the arch. Let's see what happens. Okay. We'll hit OK on that. Again, when you only want it on the top, you need to hit the direct selection tool. You have to double click on your widget. You'll get your little corner menu here. If you click the arrow, it's going to take you to the first. It doesn't mean you can't make it smaller if you want it to be smaller, but I'm not sure if this will work. Maybe 0.2 will work. Let's see something. If I click this now and change this to 0.2 as well, I might get myself a nice rounded window. So that kind of reminds me more of the federal style windows that we were looking at. And maybe you want to kind of put some outlines around some of your windows. You can certainly do that. Maybe you want it to have some kind of a windowsill. You could do something like that. Again, think about how you can change the color so that it's not going to be exactly like the colors you had. So that just changes it slightly. If I like this shape and I want to kind of create a frame inside, I can make a copy of it and paste it and hold down my Shift key and kind of reduce the size of it. Okay. Now, one of the reasons it's not reducing in size is because of the corners. The way I have the corners sized, if I try to make this any smaller, it won't allow me to do that. So what I think I'll do is I'll remove the color and I'll simply just put some type of an outline in here. Let's see what we think about that. And I'm not thinking I like that. Yeah, I really wanted to reduce the width of this. The only way that's going to work is if I change this to, say, 0.1, and I change this to, say, 0.1, and then move these together. And so now it kind of works because the dimensions had to be smaller inside in order for that to kind of create the look I wanted. All right, so let's just say we went with something like that. Maybe I want to put some lines through it. I can pull a line segment and maybe, let me deselect this first. Maybe take a line segment. Maybe I want to divide this right down the middle. If I held my Shift key, it would have been a perfect line. It was not a perfect line. I need this to be exactly 90 degrees. So the easiest way to make that happen is to go to your line properties, there we go, 90 degrees. For some reason it didn't line up before. And I'm starting to go outside the line there. Now it's saying 90, you know, when I look at it in the menu, which can be deceiving at times, but all right, so I have a line there, and I'm going to hold the shift key this time so that I get a nice straight line there. I'm just going to click my eyedropper tool so the line looks the same. Since I already have the one, here, I'm just going to copy and paste it. So Control V, Control V. And I kind of, again, made it slightly off. So I'm straightening it up. I'm going to get rid of this one. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. Well, I would say this is not going to be my favorite window, but we'll add one more. Too much time on this one. Okay, so let's just say this is the window I go with, and I might just, with this shape, I might add a lighter tone to it. So let's see, I'll add that so there's at least a little bit of color to it. All right, when I zoom out, I'm going to add one more rectangle here, and this is going to be a little bit darker so it looks like there's maybe some kind of a shadow. I don't like this blue. Keeps kind of popping up. It's in my swatches menu, so I'm going to kind of alter it a little bit until I get a color that I prefer. So it's kind of dark, but it has a little bit of a purpley feel to it. I'm going to hit the plus for that and call it deep blue, in case I have more areas where I want to have that kind of a shadow. So now I have this. I don't need this outline. I'm going to get rid of that. And so let's just gather up this window so that we can use it again if we choose to. All right, I held Shift key, object, group. All right, if I zoom out, I've got this window. Maybe I don't want it to be quite as big. I can reduce the size of it, make a copy of it, see what it looks like. Maybe I want to have this window right here. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm not saying I love that window, but it's different. And as we were looking at cities today, we could see that there were certainly lots of different types of buildings, different types of windows. So, you know, feel free to do the kinds of things you like. If you liked the more Gothic styles, if you liked the more Victorian styles, you know, think about what you liked in some of the windows that you saw and some of the buildings that you saw. And if you recall that word we learned today, which is paniche, we can mix things up. And so maybe here I can add some different types of windows. So, you know, I'm kind of designing my own style. If I were going to copy these windows again, I would group them. And then I would hit copy and then paste so that I didn't have to redesign them. I certainly would not want to go through all of that again. I might create, since I have that little dark line on that window, I might make a dark, might make a dark piece there too. Just something to kind of change up the color. That's not the color I was going for. I was really going for the deeper one, that one I think. So I might as well go ahead and group these at this point. The more you group, the more you don't have to copy and paste. So I'd rather group the whole thing and move it than have to group you know, or have to copy paste all of them at once. All right, so I'm going to do one more set of these windows down here. Again, I'm not too worried about the bottoms of these buildings because we're probably going to be covering them in some way. Okay, so I've got 3 buildings. What else can I show you that might be interesting to you? If you recall, we were able to create buildings, or create, not buildings, but when we were working with shapes before, you might want like a rounded dome or something on one of your buildings. If you want a round dome on one of your buildings, you're just going to create a circle. Hold your Shift key so that it's a perfect circle. And I'll change the color of it to maybe this blue here. You make a pie shape. So go ahead and create that pie shape. Once you create that pie shape, you're going to notice that your properties menu opens up and there's your more advanced menu. Click on those three dots. Here's where you have to change it to 180. The minute you change it to 180, you now have a half a circle. Who knows? Maybe you want, I probably don't, but maybe for some reason you want the top of this federal style looking building to have a dome on the top. Maybe you do. That might not be a bad feature to add to it. It would certainly give it a complete look, and it's your own building, so you can do whatever you want. But that's how you would possibly say add a dome. Before, on the one I did, I made a bridge. Here's how I did the bridge. I took a rectangle. Okay. And the rectangle was sort of the first thing I drew. The next thing I needed to draw, and again, you can be doing this on different layers, and you know, if I was going to complete this whole thing, I'd put this on different layers. But for now, I just want to show you how to do these things. The next thing I would want to do, I'm gonna kind of deselect this. I'm not sure how wide this bridge would be. Let's just say that this bridge was going to go all the way across. So I'll bring this piece all the way across. The next thing I would do is I would make another rectangle. Okay. And with this rectangle, I need it to be rounded at the top. So here's where I go to my direct selection tool, and I click here, and I want it rounded. And I'm not quite sure how rounded I want it. I probably want it pretty rounded. So I keep clicking. So I've gotten to 0.5 now. So I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to click on this one. Double click it. And again, I'm going to keep going till I get to 0.5. All right. Now I'm going to go back to the selection tool. And I'm just going to see. Yeah, that's kind of a good shape right there. Okay, now I need to change the color of it. I'm going to change it to white. And the reason I want to change the color of it is because I'm going to start placing this slightly below my my rectangle here. So I'm going to put one there, make a copy. And then I'm just going to hit V, copy 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 V. And I will then start placing it. Now I'm not exactly sure how wide I want my posts to be. You think about, you know, how wide the space you want to be between these arches. We're kind of creating an arcade. If you recall, we learned about arcades today. And this is our way of creating an arcade. So we've got these series of arches here. And we're just going to place these and try to make sure, you know, you can always use the grid if the grid helps you line these up just the way you want them to be lined up. Take a look. Is that kind of what you're going for? Do you want the top to be a little thicker? If you want the top to be a little thicker, bring it down some. Now, I'm not going to make any more of these. I've got 4, and I think they're placed where I want them to be. So I'll stop here. If I think that that's let me get rid of these. Oops, didn't want to get rid of that. All right, so now I'm just going to click on each of these with the Shift key, and I'm going to hit group. Of course, I could have clicked group over there too. Command C or Control C. Control V, place my next batch line them up. Okay, everything looks pretty good. Might bring this down a little bit. If I hold the shift key, I can see if these are lining up. And it seems like maybe I could drop this a little more. And then I only need one more here, but I'm going to just place them all because I can delete what I don't need after I place them. So that should do it. I'm gonna hold my shift key and make sure they line up. This looks like it could come down a little bit. So I'm gonna bring these down. Okay, I'm gonna ungroup now. So I'll just hit ungroup. And once I ungroup, I can now delete this one. Don't need it anymore. And I'm gonna ungroup all of these items. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to kind of grab the whole thing, okay? So when you grab the whole thing like this, and then you go to your Pathfinder, you go to your window, you find your Pathfinder. If you recall, when we click minus front, it does exactly that. It minuses the front. So now those are no longer shapes. I could move this anywhere and it wouldn't matter what was behind it because these now, and I'm just going to drag this over a little bit so that it kind of spreads out correctly. I could say take a rectangle, put it behind this, give it, let's see, we'll just put purple behind it for the moment. Send to back, and now you can see there's the purple in the back. That could easily become a gradient that might look nicer than just having there's a blue gradient. That's actually not even too bad, having that type of a gradient behind it. It's a lot of blue right now. If you're going for sort of a monochromatic look to your work, then there's nothing wrong with having a lot of blues, but maybe you want to go with some other color scheme. Maybe you're more interested in sort of an analogous color scheme where you've drawn some purples and some greens and some colors like that. All right, so that's one thing that you can do. I'm trying to think of what other things. The lighting, it's, super simple. You can say take a line segment like this, and let's just say I draw a vertical line. I'm holding my shift key so that it's vertical for me. I don't want it moving. Let go of your mouse before you let go of your shift key, otherwise it'll twist on you. Go to the stroke. I'm going to choose black. Black makes a good post. I'm going to need this post to be a little bit thick. I'm not exactly sure how thick. I'm going to try 4 points. Now right now that just looks like a line, but if you remember, you can go to your strokes, you can go to something like this, and you can find a line that you think is more creative. For the one I used this, and then I made it much wider. So let's just say it's a 9-point stroke, okay? You could then add to this, maybe here you want it to have some decorative touch. Hold your shift key if you want a perfect circle. Let go before you let go of the shift key. I don't necessarily want a stroke there. I want it to be filled. So I will maybe make a little black circle there. The lighting I just made a dome, just a circle basically. And again, let go of the mouse before you let go of the shift key. Change it to white. Okay. Maybe you want, maybe you want to have a line segment kind of underneath the dome, looking like it's kind of holding it in place. Again, let go of the shift key, or I mean let go of the mouse, then let go of the shift key. This is black. Go over to your stroke, click black. 1 point will probably not be enough, and I probably will try a different stroke on this as well. Maybe I'll try something like that. Whoops. You got to remember to hit the selection tool when you're, all right. Make sure things are centered, you know, so you can design some kind of lighting, you know, and of course you're going to want some kind of a base for this. The easiest way to do a base is to start with some kind of a rectangle. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. And if I were to say make just a black, I don't need the stroke, I need the fill. And then these corners, I'm probably going to want to do something more creative with them. So if I double click on that, I think this is a very cool inside round corner. I'll click that here. I'll double click this, do the same thing on that side, hit OK. And there we go. All right, and so now I have this cute little base that I could use as the base for this lighting that I've just created. Now, of course, I'm going to need to connect all of this. If I don't connect it, if I don't group it, then I'm going to have a nightmare. So you might even want some type of little fixture for the top of it. That's up to you. But I'm just going to stop here, and I'm going to hit the shift key here and keep hitting the mouse and keep clicking on everything that is part of this lighting fixture. Once I've grabbed it all, for whatever reason, group is not one of my options, so I'll just have to go up here and hit group. And so now, let me zoom out. I have a light. Let me make sure. Oh, okay. So let me try this again, since it looks like, hold my shift key, it looks like these things did not group. All right, hopefully we aren't going to have issues this time. Lost the little piece right there. So I'll click that. Oops. I'm going to have to zoom in on this to and the problem is that I've got my direct selection tool on, and I should not have my direct selection tool on. All right, we're going to do it one more time. All right, that will hopefully solve our problems. And so if this is my street and I want to have, some kind of lighting along the road, I could make a bunch of these. I could make a bunch of trees. I could make a bunch of whatever I want. The thing is to group things so that you're not repeating yourself over and over again. You make it once and then group it and then copy it. My trees down here, they were really simple. All I did was I took a rectangle, and the reason I take rectangles is because if you try to do it with a circle, it's gonna be too elliptical, and I don't always want things to be too elliptical. I'll pick a green, and then again, you always go to your direct selection tool. You select the widgets. Now for this, I'm going to want to do whatever I do, I'm going to do to all. I'm not just going to do to one. So I'm going to click the selection tool instead and drag, and let's back up again here, because I should only have to do it once. So I have the selection tool on. Ideally, now see, typically the whole thing wants to change for you, and when I want it to, it is not. So one more time, we're gonna try this one more time. Okay, so here I go. All right. And sure enough, it's only doing the one side. All right, you win this time. I will do this. I will do this 4 times. If you haven't noticed, I'm very tired right now. I have been working weekends. I am tired. And I want to sleep tonight. I haven't slept in 3 nights, so I want to sleep tonight. So forgive me. I love you guys. I really do. And I want you guys to get this. And I apologize that I'm a little bit loopy. All right, so there's my tree. I'm going to now create a line segment that's going to be the tree trunk. Just going to run it right through the center. I should be holding my shift key. I got to keep reminding myself, hold the shift key. If you don't hold the shift key, your line is going to be crooked. Hold the shift key. Once you hold the shift key, kind of center that line wherever you want it to be. Since it's going to be a tree trunk, I'm going to make it brown. Not exactly sure how thick it will be. It's definitely not going to be a straight line like that. I will most likely stick with some kind of a line like that. I think that has a more flowy look for a tree. If you want to do several trees, again, just kind of group them. You can see in the sample down here, group them, kind of lay out 3 or however many you want to lay out. Maybe you want a whole bunch of them. Lay them out, group them, and then go from there. In fact, group this first. If you know that this is exactly the way you want all of the trees to be, and you want to start with that, go for it. If you can go with that. Maybe you want this to have a gradient. I wonder how that would look with a gradient. Certainly wouldn't be a blue gradient. Huh, maybe I'm wrong. I kind of like that blue-green look. That might just not be a bad gradient. So who knows, maybe I would keep, let me just see one more thing. What colors do I have in here? If I get rid of this blue and change it to like a lime green, there's still just enough blue in it to pull all the blues together, but at the same time there's green in it, so it looks like a tree. I kind of like that. I think the trunk needs to be thicker, so I'm gonna maybe go for a 6-point, and I'm just looking at it in proportion. It doesn't necessarily, you know, once I scale this, it's not a matter of whether it's too thick for that moment. It's a matter of when I scale it, is it going to be what I want? So if I go with these two items, group them, now I can Control C, Control V, have another tree. Maybe this one's going to be slightly in front. Maybe I want to group a bunch of trees. And maybe this one's going to go behind. So I'll go to Object Arrange, Send to Back. And I could set them up any way I want, anywhere I want. We could even create streets if we wanted to. I'm gonna stop here. Like I said, I'm a little tired. I'm gonna stop here. I hope this helps you get started. I can help you in class. Do whatever you want to do. So if you need ideas, ask me. We will figure out what to do with what you have. Okay? You want water, you want streets, you want something that you don't see. We will figure out how to add them. But I'm going to stop here, and I hope this has helped. And I'm sure you guys are going to do an amazing job. Okay? So have a great night.